hard card before we start. And it says Ascended Masters, and it's a bunch of beautiful women surrounding.
Hi, soul friends. We are doing an incredible episode with a dear, dear new friend of mine named Maddi Mincey. And she actually is the first person who's ever done a psychic reading for me. And that was two weeks ago, I believe. Maddi is a psychic medium. She's a sacred ceremony facilitator and an incredible Reiki practitioner. Today's conversation is no different than every conversation we go into on all our episodes, which is, can we strip away all the layers and really get to the soul of that being and use vulnerability as like a vessel to really get to the heart of the matter of things and speak from a place of authenticity and something real, because that is what the world needs now more than ever. I'm so excited to have her on this episode. And Maddi, let's get into it. Welcome to monsoon season.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Can we just say that intro was perfect? By the way, I got chills like multiple times.
But it's just you. I'm just reflecting who you are back to you.
Just the way that you, like how present you speak is just, I just love you. So
I love you too. I'm so excited for this episode because what's interesting about this is the intention around this episode is also selfishly wanting to get to know you in this container and be able to like document our new budding friendship.
I love that.
We met really through my coach George and his online community under the name of like Creative Freedom, and Maddi and I are like participants in like the free calls, and then it just felt like there was so much synergy and so many synchronicities that were happening. And energetically, I feel like this happens a lot in all group settings, but there's always like one or two people that, usually it's one if you're lucky, but one person that you just feel this like golden thread like pulling you towards them. And so I felt that since you turned on your camera and showed up on the Zoom call. So it feels very right to get to know you better and like become friends and then get to know each other through this space, as well as we're building our own businesses and building the world that we want to see exist. So I always like to start with a question that's very simple but loaded, which is, how's your heart doing today?
What a beautiful question. It is a loaded question. My heart is growing today. And with all the things that come with growth, there's expansion, there's pain, there's vulnerability, there's like, when you're growing, you try on new pants and figure out if they fit or not. So it's growing into a space that feels very expansive, but with growth comes leaving other things behind, and that can be pretty painful too.
Something I wanted to ask you was so working with you, the first time I ever heard the term Akashic Records. I had never heard of that before. And I did a lot of Googling and ChatGPTing after our session because I was so fascinated by this word, Akashic. For me, I'm also drawn to the word Akashic because it sounds like Akash, which comes from this Sanskrit word, which means like sky and like limitlessness, it was just a very interesting word. It feels very like of a different time, and so I was so I was so kind of naive in knowing what that terminology meant. And so for anyone who like has never worked with a psychic medium, has never heard of the word Akashic Records, like how would you describe what you do and like what an Akashic record is?
Beautiful. question. I had to Google it too because I heard the word, like I work with it through teachers. We just like throw it around. And I actually looked up the actual definition of Akasha, and it's
Hmm.
ancient. So it feels like it's from another time. And it's thrown around a lot in like rap lyrics and poems, and it's very ancient. But essentially, I'm sure this is very far from the original definition of it, but it has been known as like a place in the sky that is like spiritual home, kind of, through, for lack of a better term. And like Akasha to me, and what I know it to be, is energy. The Akashic Records specifically, I like to describe them as kind of like our soul's blueprint, or the story of the soul, depending on what you align with and what you believe. To me, the Akashic Records hold our soul's story from the beginning. It is my belief that the soul incarnates multiple times and lives a lot of lives. And the Akashic Records kind of hold that. And so, as a psychic, when we go into the records, there are specific things we need to do. It's been taught through me and my mentor that there's a very incredible amount of respect that you go into it with. And so words are really important. Prayers are very important when you are entering the Akashic Records. I treat it with the utmost respect. And from what I have been taught, there are the lords of the Akasha that hold the records safe.
It's amazing. That's beautiful too that the word sky is tucked in there somewhere as well.
Yeah, I'll have to actually like really remember the
I know you're a big etymology
I
queen.
love it. Love words.
Always throwing down etymology and origins and on our calls. And I'm always just like, did she Google that or she just knows?
I Googled it for sure.
Can you kind of talk me through the moment you realized you had these sort of intuitive, I don't know if the right word is gifts or powers, or I'm just now thinking of Sabrina the Teenage Witch and just that like moment of like that everything, I think every young girl growing up like wants to believe they have these special powers. And a lot of the times as we get older, we are kind of just told like there is no magic, there is no higher power to like activate. How did you know, and when did you know that you had some sort of special gift that came very naturally and intuitively for you?
Ooh, yeah, loaded question. I did not realize what it was when I was a kid. And I think if I did, I would have had a lot less of a traumatic childhood. Um, to me, as a kid, looking back and reflecting, I was always very clairvoyant. So, what that looked like to me is number one, lots of imaginary friends, and this visceral understanding that, like, of course I'm playing with horses that no one else can see and wolves that no one else can see, and of course I talk to my friends, and that's okay. My mom called it like I had a really wild imagination because I was able to just kind of be in my own world. And actually, I have these, God, like visceral remembrances of the time in between lives. And I remember it being really scary because I can remember just darkness.
Mm.
And it's been told to me by a lot of different people that it could have been me astral projecting as a child and not knowing what I was doing, or remembering the time in the womb before I was born, or just like those pockets in between lifetimes where there was just kind of nothing. And that scared me as a little kid. And so I tuned it out. I didn't want, because it feels empty inside, and you have no definition or words for it. And it's not like I can, am I picturing a time when I died, or am I picturing a time, am I having a memory of something that I just can't explain? And so as a child, I didn't have words for it, but I knew that I felt energy on a different level. When I would go to church with my mom, I would just cry, or like my whole body would vibrate, or things like that, where I would just have these like visceral, intense emotions. And I think as a kid, with nothing to do with that, you turn it off. You're like, this is too much. This doesn't serve me. I need to go to school and do normal things. I've always been really artistic, and that's helped too. But it wasn't until I got my very first Reiki attunement 3 or 4 years ago that the visuals started to come back online. And I knew that I had intuition, and I knew that I felt deeply, deeply connected to spirit. But the things did, like, nothing connected until my very first Reiki attunement. And I was spending a lot of time meditating, a lot of time in my own head. And I wanted to see, and it came with working through a lot of grief through losing my father. And so I was working through a lot of grief. I was healing a lot of the inner woundings of my childhood and little Maddie. And it just kind of all came flooding in all at once. And all of a sudden it was like I had no control over it. And I was not at the passenger seat of my journey. It was like Buddha, lions, hands, people at the grocery store, people at the yoga studio. There was no differentiating what I was feeling. It almost felt a little bit like psychosis. I was like, what is going on?
It sounds like it could be very just like unnerving and just like a jarring experience. Like you think like you're losing your mind a little bit, but in
Very
the
overwhelming.
situation, it's like you're gaining your mind back, or like I love that when you said like it's like I came back online, but you came back online when you were able to silence the noise from the outside world. And that's something I think a lot of people, whether they have those special gifts or not, like a lot of people become like once they're able to like really attune to like their own inner frequency, then they like can really fully expand their power and like really know what they're capable of. And that sounds like similar to like how you're describing your experience.
Totally. Yeah, I think that everybody has the ability to tap into gifts. I think we're all there. It's just whether how much dedication you want to do. A lot of times it's messy. It's not fun to work through your brain and sit in silence. And so I could imagine not everybody wants to do it, but we all are chock filled with intuition, whether you want to call it a gut feeling or a whisper in the night. But that's your intuition for sure.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about in past group calls about channeling, and there's a lot of misinformation about channeling or misunderstanding around what channeling means. Do you feel like you understood what channeling was 4 years ago, like when things kind of came back, like came online for you, or is channeling something you've done from the jump? And I guess I want to deconstruct that a little bit first, and maybe let's just get back to the foundations of like, in your own words, like how would you describe what channeling is?
That's a great question. So I think in order to understand channeling, you have to understand that we are all channels. We all channel energy. That's how we wake up in the morning. You know, like our hearts are beating. That is the energy. We are channeling energy at all times. And so we're all individually channels. How clear your channel is, or what your channel feels like, and what you're able to channel through you looks different for everybody. So when it comes to actually channeling, you can channel all sorts of things, you know, like you can channel, for example, you can channel Reiki. So the most beautiful thing about Reiki is that it's coming through you. You don't have to do anything. All it is a gift of life force energy, and it's really beautiful. There's no mind, and you shut everything down and you just say, you know, in your mind, whatever you want to do is like, this is a gift. I'm giving you life force energy. And there's nothing cerebral about it. And I think to understand kind of what that is to start understanding channeling in itself. And so when you get into like the more complicated parts of channeling, of where people have a really hard time understanding, where do these words come from? If your subconscious is taking a back seat and the conscious mind is talking, or vice versa, whatever. I don't remember the exact definition of it, but you take a seat in your own mind and you're like, I'm going to stop thinking and I'm just going to flow. And that is channeling. I kind of like to think of it like a sink. Some people, they turn it on just a little bit and it's a drip, drip, drip. Or, sometimes you turn the whole thing on and all you're doing is channeling and it's trusting the information that's coming through you. And so there's channeling of information, there's channeling of music, there's channeling of energy. There's a lot of different types of it. But at its core, channeling is allowing the divine to come through you.
Yeah, and I think something you've opened my eyes to is that we're all channels. I did not, maybe that to a lot of people is obvious, but to me, it was like I felt like you gave me permission to be a channel, even though that's inherently what we all are. And I just being alive and existing, you are inherently a channel. That blew my mind a lot. And something I've been thinking about recently that I wanted to ask you is what would you say are like the kryptonite for channeling, or the things that would hold I guess make make channeling more challenging or block a channel?
Doubt.
Ooh, that came in like I felt like you were channeling right there. You're like, whoop.
Well, I actually am reading a book right now by my favorite author, Jack
John
Cornfield.
Cornfield. Yes, I'm still working through the book you recommended.
But it's all about naming the demons. And I actually finished The Demon of Doubt last night before I went to bed. And it's all about what doubt does to you. And doubt is multi-layered. So if you doubt yourself, how can you ever believe anything that's coming out of your mouth, or like in your mind, or like if you have doubt, I don't know what else to say. Like it's the biggest, I would say, between doubt and anxiety, but anxiety is not a clog. I would say doubting what's coming through you and questioning it is going to be the biggest thing that's going to stop it. Because why, if you have a clog in the drain, why would more things flow if you don't believe it and you don't trust it?
Holy shit. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, now I know why I read that last night. It was I had to reread it a couple times and like dog ear the page because I was like, "Oof, that's powerful."
I love you said dog ear the page. I've never heard that before. That is
Oh,
such
really?
cool.
Flip it over, little dog ear.
I know, that's so cute. But that's incredible. So doubt is the kryptonite to channeling. Um, I've never heard it said that way. Like if you don't believe the words coming out of your mouth, then who will, honestly. But was there anything else is the book called Demon of Doubt, or what is it called?
No, it's called, I believe, A Path with Heart.
Okay, and then there was this chapter up that was specific to doubt. Was
Oh,
there any other downloads from that reading that really stayed with you?
I wish I had it with me because I want to read the paragraph of doubt. Um, so the chapter is about naming the demons, and it starts kind of really basic, like the demon of sleepiness or the demon of laziness. And these quote unquote demons, I think it's Buddhism that he's talking about with the naming of the demons, but it's about when you
Maddie,
name.
if you want to grab the book too, I can cut parts out if you want.
Okay. Yeah, can I go grab it?
Yeah, there's
It's
no.
downstairs, so give me a second.
Yeah, take your time. Okay, cool. You got the book.
I got it. It's called A Path with Heart, a guide through the perils and promises of spiritual life. And like when I first started reading this, I think he finished this in like 1975.
Okay, wow.
I was like, I want to read the oldest book he has, I guess. Um, okay, I'm going to read the chapter, the little blip for you. When we are caught up in doubt, we experience a great deal of suffering, but the moment that we can feel it without grasping, our whole mind becomes freer and lighter. What happens when we name doubt carefully? How long does it last? How long does it affect the body, our energy? Can we listen to its story with the same ease as if we were saying the sky is blue? To work with doubt, we must center ourselves and fully come back to the present moment with continuity, firmness, and steadiness of the mind. Gradually, this dispels confusion.
Wow. It's like a machete, like it's just cutting through consciousness so clearly. Like I love when there are writers who can articulate something so visceral that we feel and
I
like
think,
he just like cuts right through it. That's incredible.
yeah. Yeah, I read it a couple times and I was like, ooh. Because they name like restlessness, sleepiness. It's like naming the demons, and the ability to name the demon
Mhm.
allows you to bring your conscious awareness to it and be a witness of how long it lasts. And he talks about specifically in this chapter that no thought can last longer than 20 or 30 seconds until you're on to the next one. And I was like, that's actually really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you think about it, it's like, yeah, I can feel sad. Let's feel sad and then watch it leave our body. I can feel doubt. As long as you're not holding it and letting it clog your channel and letting it live in you, like it's a beautiful kind of like freeing thing.
Yeah. And that's something I've been playing a lot with as well, of just like being the witness and not like sometimes where we trip up is like we are really just witnessing doubt passing through us versus when doubt comes in, a lot of the times we identify with the doubt. We're like, I am doubt and I like become doubt versus just being like having that separation and just being the witness. And I think that's also how I feel there's that a connection to channeling and what I saw when I was is it being read by you? Like I feel like that's like like that's a negative connotation for
No,
directing
reading
me
you to
like
filth. No,
you reading me to filth. But like I felt like what I was witnessing was you witnessing my records or like these visions and like downloading them and you were just so neutral about it. You weren't attached to anything you were seeing or any concepts or things that were coming up was just like this clean, like you're a witness and you're just, or a messenger and you're just passing on this information.
a channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Just think about it kind of like a current, right? And like channels and currents, they carry the water, but they don't lose themselves to it.
Mm.
So I think, and we've talked about this, that neutrality is the biggest key, right? I can't be a clear channel if I have all of my own shit clogging my channel. And like, I had a bad day, so now you get to have a bad day. That's not fair.
Yeah. Well, that's such a perfect segue because you and I are super turned on by the word neutrality.
We love
I
it.
love this is like a pillar in my life and
Mm.
has saved me from myself time and time again. I'm curious, like, where are areas in your life where you maybe earlier on struggled with neutrality and like now you've been able to play with that concept more and be able to detach from the charge that sometimes situations can bring up.
I think it's a really, really good question. But like neutrality ties into so many other things. And I think if you get bogged down into it, so much other things come into it. Like neutrality, if you lose sight of being neutral, judgment comes in, and then like biases come in, and the ego gets to come in. And it's like that you like neutrality is the door that opens in all these other things. And I actually, when I first started my journey, I think judgment was something that like I had a hard time with because of the spiritual community, especially online. It's like, well, I don't look like her. Is that how a spiritual person needs to look? And so like you allow all of these things to kind of cloud your mind, or like, is that how I'm supposed to act if I'm psychic, if I'm supposed to do this? That's what I like beginning on my journey. That's what I was like, well, I'm not all butterflies and rainbows. Does that not make me spiritual? And coming back to neutrality is just it's just witnessing the feelings as they come, and they're not bad. Judgment isn't bad. It's like our core form of protection when you think about it. But allowing your opinions to get clouded in with the judgment, and then the ego comes in, and all of that is where things start to get a little muddy. But neutrality is like this beautiful little gem that you get to drop in and be like, oop, we're coming back. Detach from that. We're coming back to neutrality. This is who I am. I am love. Everything else falls away.
That's so beautifully said. I love that you brought up judgment as a neutral word. Because as soon as I heard judgment, I was judging judgment. Because I think I attached judgment to self-sabotage, where sometimes I prefer the word discernment, because discernment feels like it's self-serving and it has a more neutral tone to it, where a judgment sometimes I feel like is about beating yourself up, or like, just gnawing at like the little insecurities and stuff like that that come up. But even that, like for me, a huge way I've worked with neutrality is like the value I give certain words, and knowing that all of these words are empty and all of these words are neutral, and like we're the ones who get so attached.
One of my favorite people on the internet, like she's the only reason I go and like watch videos on TikTok. Her name is the Glasgow Witch or Glasgow. I'm not from Scotland. I don't know how to pronounce that. But she made a video not too long ago that said positive and negative energy is for batteries.
Ooh,
Doesn't have anything to do with what we do.
that was
I know. I've watched that video so many times because I was like, ah, I love that. And what she kind of channels into the video is that what it is does this energy serve the purpose at hand? That is what you need to do. And that's like a beautiful way to come into neutrality, is like, do not name good, bad, positive, negative. That doesn't exist. What it is it serving the purpose at hand right now? And that's all it needs to be.
perfect. One of my big questions for you is, it's a big, but big is a neutral word. Big means small here. Big means tiny.
Okay.
But for me, like monsoon season, what that symbolizes is that every being goes through a monsoon season, and if you're lucky to live long enough, you go through multiple monsoon seasons where your whole life crumbles, whether it's like one moment that triggered a ripple effect. I don't think of monsoon as a bad thing. Like monsoon season is just a storm that like really kicks up all of the debris and all the blind spots and all the things in us that need to be really looked at.
Mm-hmm.
It's a season of like reckoning, and a season of that we never are the same after that moment. Could you identify a monsoon season that you've been through in your life and how that's transformed you?
Yes. And you are psychic, because that was my only question for you, is like, what is monsoon season? I was going to ask you at the end, because I was like, I did a little minor fangirling and watched a couple of your episodes, and I'm like, what does it mean?
I know I've never talked about it actually on any episodes, mainly because I think it's such a sensorial phrase that I like the idea of people injecting their own meanings to it. But like I'm from Bangladesh, and we do have, monsoon season.
Big monsoons. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's destructive, but without the monsoon season, also all the harvest and the crops don't the harvest season can't happen unless the monsoon season happens. So it's this really beautiful paradox. So that's the monsoon season is that season that like almost destroys you, but is actually the fuel and the building blocks of what makes you like stronger and turns you into that phoenix and helps burn off all of the parts of you that have been holding you back.
Yeah. The earth is very wise in the ways that she tends to the soil and all of that. Everything is necessary, even fire, and monsoons. Girl, my entire 20s was a monsoon. Uh I had a really chaotic childhood into teenage years. I mean, there was a lot there. I do think that my entire life leading me up to this point has gotten me here. It's like every day is a new pinnacle moment of like, I'm here. Here I am. I did it. I made it. And like, even when tough things come up, I'm like, whew, I look back. It's actually this weekend was I able to like look back at my journey and be like, oh my God, I've been through a lot, you know? Like, oh my God. And maybe it was my plant medicine journey on Saturday. Maybe it was just deep reflection and staying away from my phone. But I mean, I got everything you could ask for. My dad died when I was 22. I went into the Navy. Trigger warning, have had multiple assaults and terrible things happening to me. Got legally disabled, couldn't walk, went through a lot of hard times, and through every season of it have come out stronger and more capable and able to look at my journey with love and compassion instead of resentment and anger.
Mm.
And there this would be like 4 episodes if we talked about all of it, but there's a lot there, and the journey is never ending.
So it's like you are the monsoon, really.
Girl, yeah.
Which is, it's like such, I mean, that's the flex, is like when all of it just becomes, there is no beginning, middle, or end, you just become all of the things. I do know that very little, very like scratched surface level of knowing that you've been through a physical journey, like with, I don't, I'll just say it for lack of a better word, but like with weight loss or just body transformation and like self-love, really. I don't think it's as much tied to like weight as it is like truly loving your body and feeling safe in your body. And safety was a big theme and thread that came up in my reading as well, that you helped me see. And it's interesting that you brought up this stuff about the assaults, because I've also experienced multiple assaults in my life, and I only recently actually remembered them, which was like, it was so varied that like I actually thought I had made it up in my mind, if that makes sense, as if
That's
I
so
was learning
normal.
to protect myself. And that was a wild ride to figure out. But I'm saying all this more to like kind of underscore that you have gone through the storm and come out the other side, and we're always working. We're always like tending to our garden and ourselves and our spirit and our soul. But was there a moment that you took more just autonomy of that journey, and then there was that switch that happened?
We'll go generic overview, but I've struggled with my weight my entire life. My mom got me a personal trainer when I was in 4th grade. And so it has been a deep
Fourth
wound.
grade? Holy. Okay. Yes, let's get in it.
There's a lot there. So I had struggled with weight and being chubby and forcing sports my entire life, but I've always loved exercising. And so I never really saw it as a bad thing. I joined the Navy. Was the CrossFit girl and I loved feeling strong. And then I got really injured. While I was in the Navy, I was underway on an aircraft carrier and everything hurt. And I didn't understand how me, the one who could go to a CrossFit class and flip a tire, now is being told she has to have this surgery or she's going to dislocate her femur, And so it went from feeling very, very invincible to very, very real that I was not going to walk, or I needed a machine to lift my leg and rotate my hip. I had a major hip surgery that went really badly, without violating HIPAA. But after I got out of the military, it was around 2019 where I was genuinely so unhappy and so disassociated from my body. I was like riding my bike for like 8 to 9 hours on the weekends. Like it was almost punishment of, well, now we have to do all this work to get back to whatever we thought we were. And I, bought a personal training book in 2021. Like that was my thing, is like I wanted to be healthy. I remember my husband would ask me like what I want for my birthday, and I would like look at him with tears in my eyes and be like, to lose weight. I feel like a stranger in my body.
Mhm.
And I was like, deadlifting 200, 300 pounds. I was so strong. And yet I was still so inflamed. And I want to say that there's nothing wrong with any body at all. Every body is perfect. But if you feel in your heart of hearts that something is off and you are disassociated spiritually from your body, and you feel sick or you're having things happen to you, I would take a look at where your emotions are.
Mhm.
And that's essentially what I did. I hit a point in 2021 was like one of the worst years of my life. 2022, I kind of said, all right, we got to find our heart somewhere in here. We got to stop hating ourselves and hating our body and punishing ourselves. And it was the year that I did a lot of inner child healing.
Mm.
And I sat for a long time. There was a lot of different versions of my inner child that didn't want anything to do with me because I had been real mean for a long time and it wasn't safe. And throughout my journey, when I stopped working out was when I finally lost weight and I could let it go. And it took so much work of radically accepting exactly where I was on that day. Okay, I lost 5 pounds, cool, but like I still have work to do. No, you don't. You're perfect right now. Would you tell that to little version of you that you still have work to do? No. Radically accepting the good, the bad, the ugly, the things that you feel like you're not worthy of. It's being that for you, showing up every single day and giving yourself love, no matter what. That's what helped me heal. And that's what led to like almost probably 60 pounds of weight loss.
Wow. And was that mainly through not working out?
Not working out.
Isn't it wild? Like to me, this is a concept that's truly starting to really crystallize in my heart. That if we grip onto something, if we want something, right? Whether it's like weight loss or insert whatever here, if we're gripping onto it, it doesn't happen. It's like everything in the universe will like actually resist it from happening because you're holding so hard to that thing. And once we finally like truly can let it go and like release into it and relax into it and like surrender, there is the thing that we've wanted just like completely just begins to emerge in this way. I've just been noticing that happening a lot in a lot of people's lives is we yeah, we're always just like obsessing over this outcome, this outcome, this outcome. I want this weight to get off. And it's like we let it go, and then all of a sudden the body knows what to do. The body
Yeah.
for itself when it has this space and it's not being suffocated by the nervous system to like be a certain way.
Yeah. I do think it was a decent amount of nervous system too, like the safety aspect of it. I didn't need to cling on to things and death grip things. It was like, oh, I'm safe, I'm okay. And it's funny, every year I tattoo a different something on myself to commemorate the year. And last year I tattooed surrender on my leg. And that was my word of 2024. And it really is like once you release it, it no longer has power over you, and you get to really watch it unfold in your life. That is true surrender, is release. Release without expectation, release without attachment, release, just surrender it, let it go. And you get to see how it comes back to you.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I have a random question that's intuitively coming up, so I'm going to channel.
Let it rip, girl.
Fake hair flip. I don't know why this just keeps coming up because it feels off tangent, but I'll ask. What does your husband mean to you?
Oh, I love that. Safety. It's very rare these days to find a man that just feels like a warm hug. And we tell each other all the time that, like, you're my chair. Like, you're at the end of the long day, we come home and we sit down and we're like, we're here. He's safe. He is like unconditional love. He's steadiness. He's balance. He's a lot of things. He's very special.
He's handsome. He's hot.
He'll watch this, so his head will get big.
Good, good, good. We're sending all the love out to him. How are you practicing self-love in your life right now?
I would say honoring myself and my current journey, and being really present for it, like front row seat to my life, and just being a witness to it. That keeps me really honest and accepting, the acceptance and the honor of the journey as it comes every single day, and really feeling it and being present for it is I think one of the greatest acts of self-love for anyone. But for me specifically, I'm the type of person that strives. I'm like, if you don't have something to look forward to, like, why are you living? But I'm living every day for myself. Yeah. And that's what matters. Like, that's it. I'm here for today. And tomorrow I'll be here for tomorrow too.
That's beautiful. I know that so during our Akashic reading, when you were reading the house down on me, I actually asked you if it was okay to record the session, and the session ended up being like 3 hours long. It was incredible, and to be honest, I'm still integrating. I think that's something a lot of people don't realize is like the reading is one experience, but the integration piece of it is actually very long, and there's maybe like no cap to it. It just I'm continuously getting different meanings of what was shared and what you had shared with me during the reading, like as life unfolds. And I think I had a tendency to, like, after having this like really beautiful experience, wanting to make sense of it all at once in one sitting and wanting to digest everything, but it doesn't work that way. It kind of has to, it like literally just unfold bit by bit, and like little tiny pieces are starting to make sense and form, which is really beautiful. But something that you shared with me was it was your first time seeing yourself in that recording, because I asked you afterwards to watch it back, and oh, come on, trucks, not today. I asked you to watch it back, and you distinctly told me that it was challenging for you to watch yourself back, which I think so many people can relate to. Like, it's like hearing yourself on voicemail for the first time and being like, I sound like that? Like, oh God.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But I'm curious, what was happening in your nervous system, in your heart, in your eyeballs when you were watching yourself in your purpose through that reading? Like, what was coming up for you? Good, bad, but in between? positive, negative, neutral, all of it.
Yeah, I think it was really like the positive of it was that it was really beautiful to see myself do it because when you're in it, you're not really conscious of what's happening. All my purpose and my job when I'm channeling is to relay information and to kind of it's like this big puzzle that I gotta like solve to give it to you in a way that you can understand it. And that communication is the biggest part. And so you're in it and you don't really care about much else other than like it's like throwing up. I've used this analogy before, but it's like I got to get it out. It has to come out. It can't be inside of me. I have to figure out a way to tell this to you. And so to watch that happen, at first I was like, ooh, that's a little cringy, but it's okay. And then as we went through it, it was like, okay, this is actually kind of cool. Like these are a lot of good nuggets. And I was able to be like, wow, that's really interesting. Like I was integrating also and like taking lessons from that. And that's the thing about readings is like every time I do a reading, there's something for me in it.
Mm.
It's not a reading for me, but I'm like, wow, that lands, and that lands with her, it lands with me, it lands with our guides, everything. There's just like little tidbits that you can take and digest for the rest of your life. And then there's that hypercritical aspect of you, like, could I have said that better? Or could I have relayed that message, in a better way? I do happen to be a Virgo, so I'm a little bit perfectionism. But it was, I'm trying to think of like the best word for it. It was,
Perfect.
yeah, it was an experience. I'm very grateful for it.
It was, I mean, I'm a little biased, of course, but I mean, I don't think you could articulate anything better. It was one of the things where I was just sitting there. At first, I was like, oh, I'm getting a reading done. Okay, like, let me see what happens. And then I realized, like, for 2 hours, I was just enamored by watching you do a reading that I forgot I was being, like, read. And I was just so like locked in and entertained by watching. What fascinated me the most about watching you like and watching the playback was this like playfulness that happens when there were just like moments where you were just like sitting and you're like, okay, what else? And then you were just like in this like really joyous childlike wonder, and I was just like really just completely in love with that process that you were experiencing. It felt so joyful, and something that blew me away was I was really expecting you to open Pandora's box. I think a part of me, a myth or an expectation that was broken was like, oh, all my trauma, all my shit, she's gonna see it all, and she's gonna know all of my dirty laundry, and she's gonna know everything I did. The last thing, like, I did in private or what. Like, I just was afraid that you were opening this Pandora's box of trauma and secrecy and all these like negative stuff. But I want you to like tell our audience, like, why is it that negative things don't come up in your readings?
Oh, good question. So when you construct a prayer to enter into a reading, it's less about negative and more about you're calling on the highest self and the true heart and the true spirit and the true guides of you and the client. Um, and so no negative things would ever come up. I'm calling on like the Mecca, the highest of high is what we're getting at because like I'm sure maybe that there are psychics that could access like your dirtiest laundry, but what are we
I don't
doing?
want those people.
Like why do we need that? Like what I do and what I do believe is my purpose is giving you messages from your highest self and your highest guides and of the highest light in order to help you take a step forward in your life. And like maybe that is a message from your parents that says like, we love you, we're proud of you. Maybe that's in that moment, that's what you need to be able to make it through another day.
Yeah, that was a very life-altering moment because something I don't know if a lot of people know, booking a reading is that like you're not only calling on the highest version of the person that you're reading, you're calling on the people that come up in your channel are also the highest version. So like when you brought up like a parental figure and a mother and a father, I immediately felt like a constricting feeling in my body because I was like, oh no, like how does she know about my, my dad left when I was 15, and a lot of things was like starting to emerge from that, and a lot of grief was coming up. And then when you said what you said about my parents and these things that I know I will never hear them say in my lifetime, it kind of surprised me because I was expecting that to also bring up and kick up a little bit of that debris and like of that, you know what I mean? And so I think that's something again people don't realize is like you're not just calling on my highest version or your client's highest version, you're calling all the guides are also like in this pristine state. So it felt really like I just felt like I was on a cloud at the end of it. um it was, yeah, it was really beautiful.
Yeah, I call on the guides and guardians of the true light of your true heart that need to be present on this day.
Yeah.
So if I did it the next day, it could have been different. But like your guides, your soul, everything knows what you need in that moment, you know?
Yeah. Keanu Reeves knows. No, anyone who doesn't know, he's one of the people that I call in as my teacher in meditation, and a very, very, very perfect Virgo, just like you.
He's the best. He was lovely to sit and talk to.
Um, yeah, I think my last question is just, is there anything like on your, I don't know, on your heart that you feel like you're itching to express or share?
Hmm. Pulling back the veil on spirituality, you know, like my one of my big themes in my life is no guru. And so I'm not here to be some ascended master to think that I am higher or holier than anyone else. I'm here to bridge the gap between the unseen world and the seen world and whatever that looks like to people. So don't be afraid of mysticism or mediums or think that it's some kind of unattainable goal for you. It's very, very attainable to sit with yourself. And I've said this on a call before, but at the end of the day, like every person at the end of the day, if they sat long enough, they could sit at the water and learn how to drink. But some people need to be sat down and shown the cup and taken a drink and guided through life. And that is what I believe like psychics are here for, is for guidance and to walk hand in hand in this journey and help guide. And it's the greatest honor of my life. So there is not one day that I wake up and don't pinch myself and think, well, God, what a life, you know? And so I genuinely appreciate you allowing me to share that gift and trusting me. It was a deep, deep honor.
It was perfect.
I
Yeah, I just love you so deeply.
love you.
What is this next season asking of you?
I'm learning. So I'm starting classes to become a therapist in order to open accessibility of spirituality and to really be a bridge between the mental health field and the spirituality field. I think I've done the private practice mediumship for a while, and I kind of want to know more. I want to learn more about how the brain works. And I think that will help me help more people in ways that I feel like maybe I needed it on my journey. And so the goal is to be the bridge and to help. more people.
Yeah. And I think something that came up on our group call was, there were people who were coming from that world of more technical, certified people who were trying to like step out of that and come into what I think you've already cultivated, right? They want the private practice and something a little bit more exclusive, like more high ticket kind of offerings. And I really just truly like honor and just bow down to you for really like listening to your intuition. And like this idea of accessibility is huge and is something that I I see there's a huge disparity in spirituality and wellness spaces, and the fact that you're just really truly sticking to your guns and like going down a path maybe that, and seeing people go in the opposite direction is not always easy
Yeah,
to witness. Like when you're like, oh, well, I'm gonna go here and everyone's dipping out right now. Like like, that can really shake a lot of people and make people, make a U-turn and go along with the masses and stuff. And I just really think that's so powerful that you know your why and you're making the moves like accordingly and trusting yourself. And that's a huge part of like also overcoming doubt, I bet, as well, right? Because if doubt was present, then it would be really easy to sway or wobble in those decisions.
totally. And it's interesting being where I am now. I had an astrologer tell me years ago that I was going to be a therapist, and I kind of laughed at him. I was like, "Not me, bud. Um, got the wrong Virgo, unfortunately." No, but I did have a moment where I was like, psychology doesn't recognize mediumship.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what to do about it because it's not something that can really be studied. But mediumship and psychicness has been along or been around much, much longer than like school. So it's like, as long as I stick to my values and I know who I am and I've done the inner work, this is all about expansion for me. This is a huge expansion in like learning and accessibility, and understanding the brain in order to help people more. And as long as I stick to my guns, I know that I won't fail, and it will be for good.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's like you're fulfilling this prophecy. This astrologer is definitely like, told you so.
I gotta call him. I gotta call him. I told you.
Lovely. I'll make sure to share anyone who wants to get in contact with Maddie and book a reading. You have to book a reading. It is life altering, and want to get to know more about her and her work and the things that she offers and she's doing in this wellness space in such a different, more fresh, radical approach. It's really, really inspiring, and she's just an incredible creator as well. I'm going to link everything in the show notes, and so people will have access to that. And I just thank you so much, Maddie, for like your presence and your beauty. Like you were one of, not to sound like a cheese ball, but yeah, the moment I laid eyes on you, I was just like, that is one, you're like one of the most
You make me blush.
like, I mean, you stopped me in my tracks. Like your beauty is just, and your light and radiance is of another world. And I also know that the people who shine the brightest and have that radiance and that beauty that is so, yes, it's physical, but that inner beauty that just comes through, I know that they've walked through the darkest nights. Like, I know that to be true. And so
Mhm.
when I say you're beautiful, it's not in a vanity type of way. It's not just to be like, oh God, I really wish I looked like her type of way, but it's just to like acknowledge that I see the light only because the darkness has been present for so long and you still choose to shine. And that's what I'm acknowledging when I gush over your looks. It's really not fair that you look like the way you look. But when you hear the story and what you've been through, it all makes sense and it all is right with the world and the balance is there. But yeah, you are only beautiful because of all that you've come through. It's truly like I think you to me are one of those people that is the embodiment of like no mud, no lotus. And like when I see you, I see you as this like lotus flower that's like sitting just above the mud in this pristine, yeah, just in a pristine atmosphere.
Thank you so much. Deeply, deeply, deeply received. I know we've talked about working on receiving compliments, so
Take it.
I'm taking it. I'm taking it. I'm going to sit with it, but know that I think you are so incredibly radiant and beautiful. And the first time I saw you on a call, I was like, who is this light? It was like you were beaming out. I could see your aura just like radiating, and that's exactly what you are to this world. And so know that you're deeply, deeply loved and honored and appreciated, and you are a light.
I receive it too, Maddie. I love you.
Love you.